Somebody's been sleeping on my side of the bed, and they're still here.
I believe it.
My headphones feel stretched out.
So a big head.
I don't know.
A big head?
There's nobody here.
A mongoloid head? Big mongoloid head?
We had Kerry Brown in here, and he couldn't even wear yours. He's got like a little head. He had to wear Amanda's.
Oh, how cute.
It was cute.
That was cute.
What's going on?
Nothing. What's going on?
A lot of things are going on.
A lot of things?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson's in Russia.
I heard that. Let's do this. Pulling the Thread Podcast, episode 61. What's going on? Tucker Carlson's in Russia. I heard there's some people mad. Like they're actually being like, we shouldn't let him come back in the United States. Why? You're letting every fucking terrorist come across the border.
And what is your reason for not letting him come back in the United States?
An actual U.S. citizen? Yeah.
But he's doing news.
Right. That they don't want told. That's just it, right?
Who is the most important person that you can interview right now? I don't know. Probably Vladimir Putin.
You mean the guy that they're blocking all of his fucking incoming?
It's just dumb. It's dumb. Why wouldn't you want to hear what Vladimir? Because he can only do one thing, really, is he can only make his position even worse.
Putin?
Now, yeah, Putin.
But who's he going to make his position worse to in the eyes of who?
Well, in the eyes of Americans, right? Because we're spending billions and billions of dollars to fight a proxy war in Ukraine against Russia.
Do you think most?
And so maybe he comes out and he says some shit that everybody's going to be like, yeah, that's a good reason to spend that money. Or
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Do you think most Americans?
It depends on how. It depends on how Tucker does the interview.
Do you think most Americans really view him as the bad guy?
Putin?
Yeah.
I don't believe Americans. I don't believe the majority of Americans even know who Putin is.
Really?
I mean, again, people know he's the probably president of. They probably realize that he's the president of Russia. But as far as the politics of what's going on in Ukraine, 90% of Americans don't even know where Ukraine is on the map.
Do you think he's the bad guy? Do you think he's the bad guy?
Do I think he's the bad guy? That's kind of a loaded question. Yes, Putin is the bad guy because he is the one that crossed the line.
What line?
Are we the good guys? We're not really the good guys.
What line?
By invading a sovereign country.
Was it not Russia to begin with at one point?
Well, it was Soviet Union. Not really Russia.
Isn't his desire to put the Soviet Union back together?
Yes, but that's not Russia. So he would have to invade sovereign countries in order to put the Soviet Union back together, or a bunch of sovereign countries would have to join his alliance, kind of like we do with NATO.
Sovereign country in whose eyes?
The countries themselves.
Right.
So, do you think, for example, like Lithuania is a sovereign country, but Lithuania was part of the Soviet Union. Would Lithuania, as a sovereign country, want to join an alliance with Russia, kind of like NATO, or be controlled by Russia? No, Lithuania does not want any part of this Russia or the Soviet Union.
Do you think we should be part of NATO?
We are NATO.
Right. So do you think we should still fund NATO, or do you think it was a good move for all of those countries to have to put their fucking money in and us put less money into it?
At the time that NATO... So
right, but that's not
when we're
this
talking
day.
about when we're talking about now. No, those European countries, all the European countries that are part of NATO, the old European countries. Again, Estonia is doing everything Estonia can to support NATO. But when we talk about the old NATO countries,
you know what Estonia is best known for?
Nazi paraphernalia.
For real?
Yeah, you can get a bunch of really good Nazi paraphernalia in Estonia.
Hugo Boss made beautiful stuff.
Again, Hugo Boss was a Nazi.
I'm aware. Porn. Estonia is best known for.
I thought that was
porn. Czech Republic, all that area, but Estonia, Prague, porn.
Yeah. Okay. That's the price of freedom. Good porn.
I mean, if they want to do it and they're willing to do it, fucking more power to them. I mean, do whatever you want to do till it negatively affects somebody else. But
yeah. So as far as Russia being the bad guy, they're the bad guys because they entered into a sovereign nation is, are we the good guys because we're sending money over there for Ukrainian youth to be killed off? Not really. We're
so,
just as culpable as
they're
the Russians.
conscripting females now.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. When a country is dying on the battlefield, that's the next thing they do is they conscript females. So
women and children. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So they just don't have the manpower. That's the thing, is nobody wants to admit the truth. Again.
So is Ukraine
Ukraine has to kill 10-1 in order Ukraine has to kill 10-1 in order for it to be even a stalemate, and they can't do that.
So Ukraine's already they've already used all of their prime fighters, right? Those guys are all dead now. Question mark.
I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true, because Ukraine, what most people don't understand is Ukraine, prior to Russia invasion, didn't have a real army. It was all militias. So when you looked at anybody that was guarding the frontier, it was militias. And the militias weren't technically, while they were loyal to Ukraine, they weren't technically loyal to Zelensky. And
right,
so
it's more like mobsters.
Kind of, yeah. So, there are several interviews that you can see where they went and interviewed those Ukrainian battalions that were on the front that would be like, they're like, hey, if Zelensky wanted to take your weapons away, what would you do? And they're immediately like, we would fucking attack him. Yeah. So there was large amounts of militia in Ukraine, and that's how they stopped the Russians in the first place, was through militias. Now that he has a standing army that we paid for, Zelensky has been doing everything he can to kill off all those militias. So when people talk about like the Azov battalion, as the world knew it prior to this war, they're done. They're gone. They're dead. They got wiped out in Bakhmut. So when you see people walking around with Azov battalion, patches and shit now, that's not the original crew. That's not the original militia. Those guys are all dead.
So who's fighting in their behalf? I mean, if they've used up.
Well, what they're doing is they're co-opting. So what Zelensky has done is he has pushed all the militias to the front, right? And so the militias where the militias are getting tore up, while NATO has been making a Ukrainian army. So there's out of just regular people
in Ukraine.
Yeah, in Ukraine, they're enlisting guys to be in the regular Ukrainian army, and they're getting training.
Well, I don't know if they're enlisting them. They're forcefully conscripting them, is what it looks like.
They're forcefully conscripting guys, but the guys that are going into the army, it's an interesting dynamic in the sense of you're creating loyalty. So the guys that are going into the regular forces are going to be regular soldiers. When you see somebody that's getting pulled off the street and thrown in a van, those guys are in the trenches. Yeah, I can't remember what they called them. They're follow-on forces. So what they do is, what the Ukrainians do, which is pretty, because they don't have a lot of well-trained troops, they use their well-trained troops as shock troops. Those guys go in and they'll take those initial trenches. So when you see the guys on the tree line with the M4 carbines and the Bradleys, and they're just tearing that place up and shooting it all up, those guys go in and they take those trenches, and then they immediately pull out. And then for lack of a better term, the cannon fodder sit in the trenches. So the guys that they are conscripting, they get put in the trenches, and their job really is to improve the trenches. So they're in there digging those trenches, and to hold those trenches as best they can, so those shock troops can move throughout the battlefield and hit Russian troops all over the place. The issue is Ukraine does not have a large enough standing army to hold all those positions. So they use conscripts and militias to hold those positions. But most of the original militias, like if you go back 6 years and look at any of the footage from Ukraine, most of those militias that were holding the line, they're done. They're gone. They've been wiped out. So that is in Zelensky's favor, meaning it was important for Zelensky to wipe those guys out and create a regular standing army in order so he could have loyalty.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because once they overthrew the Russians, they were going to overthrow him.
Maybe. I don't think there's again. I don't think there's there's an outcome. I don't think there's an outcome where we're overthrowing the Russians, meaning the Russians have taken the territory that they wanted to take. All the
and more.
A little bit more, not a lot. The interesting thing is if you look at what Putin said initially, what he wanted to do, those predominantly Russian neighborhoods that he wanted to hold and keep, they really are holding and keeping. Now, I think the Russian military intelligence failed Putin very much by telling him that he could take all of Ukraine.
Do you think he can't take all of Ukraine?
No, I don't think.
Why can he not?
Because
of us?
No, because again, you have people that the Russians are invaders. You have Ukrainians who are, again, they are loyal to Ukraine. And so it is very hard to fight a guerrilla warfare it's very hard to go into a country and fight those guys because the Ukrainians are going to fight. They're going to, the women and children, the Ukrainians are going to do that. So
what's our interest there?
Our interest is killing Russians.
Why?
Because Russians have always been perceived as the bad guys.
Because we need a boogeyman.
Well, it's not necessarily the boogeyman. It's a one world government.
Which is not our government.
No, but it's a one world government, and there are 3 places in the world that have to fall in order for a one world government.
What are those?
Korea, Russia, Iran.
South Korea.
North Korea.
North Korea. Interesting. Okay.
North Korea, Russia, and Iran. And it's funny that we are trying to start wars with all of those people.
Who is we?
Well, the uber elites, right?
Right. Through our president.
Yeah, the uber elites.
Through
but
Biden's administration.
Well, no matter what.
Which is why they don't want Trump there, because Trump was going to buck that.
When I said North Korea, I actually meant China. China, not North Korea. North Korea is irrelevant. When we look at a one world government, right? When we look at what people are talking about, the interesting thing about a one world government is America will always be at the top of the table. It doesn't matter whether it's Brussels or the European Union that is running the world. America will always be at the top of the table because we are the policemen of the world. No one else can step in our place right now. So we will always be at the table because we are the teeth for whatever tiger you want to tame. We are the teeth.
Also the people that could stop the one world government.
Can we?
So I don't know about that, but I mean, do you not think that's part of the attack on the military personnel and the weakening of the United States, of the mail and the ESG scores and all of that bullshit? Do you not think that that's those strings are pulled by the one world government and turned inside the United States to weaken the United States?
I don't know. I don't know if you have a Bill Gates puppet master that is like, hey, it would be real good if the United States military was weak, because none of their programs, like nothing that they want to do is doable without the United States. Like already we're in the United States, we're looking at a cargo ship container problem here in the United States. Container ships not making it to the United States.
Expand on that.
And that is just because of the Houthis.
Okay.
So the Houthis are firing drones and shit.
What's the point of origin of those ships? What the cargo? Where did it come from?
anywhere in the world. It has to go through that. It has to go. Well, it doesn't have to. But remember, the two shortest routes. So when they're going through the Suez Canal or they're going through the Panama Canal, those are short routes. We created those so the cargo could get here faster. The Houthis have created a shipping embargo.
Can we really not just fucking remove the Houthis? Like if the United States just like the war on drugs, right? If the United States wanted to end the war on drugs, we wouldn't have that fucking issue right now. They want that war on drugs. Do you not think that we can actually fucking crush the fucking Houthis?
Yes, we could crush the Houthis. We can crush the Houthis. The question is, do we have the will?
Right.
Do we have the
will? And why do we not? Who is we?
Your current president of the United States. Getting us into and the issue is this. It's just like, I don't know if you just saw Joe Biden and them came out recently, and they're saying that we have a bipartisan deal on the border.
Yes, I actually know a little bit about that.
So 3 years they've been letting hundreds of thousands of people cross the border,
millions,
unhinged,
millions,
and now all of a sudden they have a deal. Why do they have a deal now?
You want me to tell you?
Well, I know why. Because
it's $180 billion. Do you know how much goes to the United States border?
I don't know, probably 50 million.
20.
Yeah.
Do you know where the rest of that money goes?
Whatever.
It goes to Israel.
Oh yeah, Israel and Ukraine.
Yeah. All that fucking $180 billion.
Single issue bills.
Yes.
It should be illegal for them to bundle anything together in a bill.
So that's going to get kicked out. Yeah. That's never going to pass, and they're going to now say, "Well, the Republicans stopped this bill."
Yeah,
you don't need a bill,
but I mean,
you have the laws in place right now. Enforce the laws that you have.
The reason why they're doing what they're doing is because, again, we're moving into an election year.
Yes,
it's the same reason why they're not starting a. It's the same reason why they're not starting a war with Iran right now is because we're moving into an election year.
And you're only 1 month. You just started the second month of this year, and look at the bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I promise you, if the Democrats get elected again, come November, if the Democrats get elected again, I promise you, you can go ahead and mark this on your calendar that Scully said this. The Democrats will get us in a war with Iran most haste as soon as that election's over.
Did you see Nikki Haley, Nevada? Had an election last night, the primaries. So Nikki Haley was on the ballot. Trump was not on the ballot, apparently. Do you know who won?
Trump.
No candidate. The write-ins not voting for my candidate's not on the ballot actually got more than Nikki Haley got on that fucking election.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a good.
Yeah,
good,
and that's why I say when we say I don't remember what you said earlier, but you said something about most Americans, and I said I don't know if that's the case. I think most Americans are for Trump, right? I think most Americans believe that we are not the good guy. I believe that most Americans don't give two shits about what happens over in Russia, right? How many bases do we have around the world? And like just the ones that we know of, the identified bases. Would the United States be better if we pulled a lot of that out of other countries and put that into infrastructure and closing our own borders and revitalizing the United States workforce? Go ahead, what?
No.
Okay, why?
Because contrary to what people think, it sucks to be the policeman of the world. But without the United States, forward deployed all over the world, doesn't matter what we do in America, the rest of the world will fall the fuck apart. And then you won't be getting your fucking Walmart $10 lamps
Who used to control India?
The British.
Right. And it ran, right?
Yeah.
What is it now?
What do you mean?
It's kind of a mess right now.
Well, yeah, it is a mess now.
Who controlled South Africa?
The Afrikaans.
Right. Who were they?
Yeah. No, I get what you're.
Right. Somebody said if you don't rule savages with an iron fist,
then you'll get savages.
Then you have savages. Yeah.
So when we're talking about, but America is the only nation that has the capability to create free trade around the world. Okay. We're the only ones that have the capability. The minute the United States, what do you think happens?
You've said that many times, yeah.
When the United States pulls out, when we pull out of
pirates,
the Middle East, when we no longer back these, when you think about Saddam Hussein, okay, and we backed him all the way from the 70s. You know what we didn't have a problem with? We didn't have a problem with Iraq. Now, you can say it sucks that those people lived under his rule.
Yeah, how are they doing right now?
But the rest of the world did not have a problem with Iraq because we allowed him to rule in a manner that was necessary to rule that part of the world. They're not any better,
Weren't they just named as a threat to the United States? Like, didn't they just come out in some declaration of war against the United States?
Take a look at Libya.
That's what I was going to say, right?
Take a look at Libya.
So if we're talking about Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein, what did they both want to do, and what were they in fact doing before we targeted them as enemies and had weapons of mass destruction?
I don't think, I know people keep bringing up this gold standard thing, but the gold standard, I don't believe that had anything to do with it. We are a war nation, and we make billions and billions of dollars off of war. I guarantee you that the economy of the 20 years that we fought in Iraq was bigger than any worry of a gold standard. Because of how much money we made. I mean, you think about Ukraine.
There's a female congresswoman that was caught on a hot mic. It might have been Nikki Haley. I don't know how many female congressmen there are, but what she was saying was, we need another forever war with a country with a seaport, because the real money comes when General Dynamics makes aircraft carriers, and we need that kind of war. And that's that forever money. Well, and it's because we come in. Who has the contract to rebuild Ukraine right now? BlackRock.
Yeah.
Who built Iraq? Who rebuilt all those countries?
Us.
It's always
but that's not even the reality is yes, BlackRock is going to make a ton of money.
Or Brown and Root. That was that was Trump. Or that was
the
Bush's.
BlackRock's going to make
Rumsfeld
a ton of money rebuilding Ukraine, right? They're going to make a ton of money rebuilding Ukraine. But again,
Russians are holding it.
It's the Defense Department budget that is really making the money. It pales in comparison. In the first payment we gave to Ukraine was more money than we spent the entire 20 years we were in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And the money we're about to give them right now is more than that.
And we're not going to give it to them.
You don't think so?
I think the Republicans are going to stop them, which good for you, Republicans.
Correct, right, because that border, and they're wrapping it up. They always report, even mainstream media right now is reporting, illegal migrants across the border, and then they talk about the border bill in the same fucking paragraph, and that's what they tied it to.
Good for you. Europe needs to pull its fair share, and Europe needs to be paying for this war, not the United States.
So what's going on with this fucking park in Texas right now, and the trucker convoy heading down there, and the Patriots heading down there, and now we've got there's 20, 30 some states have sent actual National Guard troops down with materials and equipment. Biden has called in Alaska National Guard, which is fucking odd, right? So they've brought Alaska National Guard down on the behalf of the White House.
Yeah, but you know why? That's a classic. That's actually a classic Russian tactic. So it's the way the Russians kept the Soviet Union, the way the Russians were able to hold the Soviet Union together, is they would move troops from different parts of the region to hold different parts. So you wouldn't have California would not have California National Guard. They would have New York National Guard.
Correct.
Because New York guys are going to be loyal to New York.
Just like you've always said, if there's ever martial law, it's not going to be National Guard from here.
Yeah, it's not going to be National Guard from here.
And we don't have to worry about it rural anyways, because they're going to send them all to fucking where the capitals are.
Yeah, well, they're going to. They really only have the capability to moderately hold some major cities. And again, if if it became contentious, meaning, let's say, hypothetically, war broke out between the state of Texas and the United States, you're going to have National Guard guys from Alaska that are going to be like, fuck you, I'm not going. I'm not going down there. Why would I go down there to fight?
Can they do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they can't. You can do whatever you want.
Who would come pick them up if they AWOL'd like that?
Oh, initially it's going to be I don't think so. It'll have to be federal agents that show up and start arresting. Yeah.
What the fuck's going to happen when a couple federal agents show up in Alaska?
Polar bears, maybe? I don't know.
Holy shit.
Yeah, initially it's going to be. It won't be. I mean, you'll have a broad dichotomy. It'll be just like COVID, right? You're going to have police agencies that are going to want to enforce whatever the federal government tells them, and you're going to have police agencies that are going to say that's not legal. Same thing in the military. You're going to have military personnel who are going to be like, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. And you're going to have a bunch of military personnel that are going to be like, Roger, let's go fight
So
Texas.
Apparently there's a bunch of Border Patrol guys out there that are coming out and being like, this is horseshit. And when you see videos of them and they're interviewing dudes on the ground, they're like, we ain't mad at each other. We don't want to do this fucking job. We're not out here fighting. We're all fucking eating hamburgers together.
The problem that the federal government has with Border Patrol agents is Border Patrol agents live in those communities, right? They live in those communities. It's hard to be a jackbooted thug when you live in those communities because you know the guys, right? The National Guard, you know them. So it's hard. The only way Biden is going to be able to get the results that he wants is he's going to have to bring outside agencies down to the border to test Abbott's resolve.
What agencies do you think that would be? Department of Transportation, IRS, ATF. I mean, what's that?
They're all armed, so why not? It'd be awesome to see a bunch of IRS agents down there with bolt cutters. No, initially it'll probably be federal. It'll be like the FBI HRT team will go down there, or it'll have to be somebody at a higher tactical level, because what they would be trying to do is scare people into compliance, right? So they would use a show of force. So maybe the Alaskan National Guard shows up with a bunch of M1 Abrams.
So the Alaskan National Guard, people, like when they're reporting this, they're like, this happens all the time. Actually, the last time it happened was 5 years ago, and they sent 10 personnel. Do you know what they're sending this time? They're sending 20 personnel. That's what the Alaskan National Guard is sending, 20, and apparently there's some support aircraft or something. So I would assume that it's a crew for fucking 2 of whatever aircraft they're sending.
Probably.
Like it sounds like this thing, right? They're sending shooters down, but that does not seem to be the case.
Yeah, it's probably some sort of surveillance aircraft, and they're just going to be flying around listening to everybody's cell phones. But again,
so do you remember the trucker convoy that rolled to Washington, D.C., right? Thousands of fucking semi-trucks, and they blocked it out. They were never even able to get into the city. Mm-hmm. Apparently that is happening right now.
Yeah, there's
in Texas.
There's a like a support thing where they're driving around. I think that's just people trying to make money. But Abbott has put out a call to people who want to help down there.
To individual citizens. They're issuing barbed wire and shit out.
To individual citizens, and they're I saw a thing where they were like giving per diem. Really? So if you show up, you get like $22 a day for food or some shit.
Like to state militia guys and shit?
Me and you could go down there and be like, what do you need?
You don't think that's a setup? That's going to be another January 6th thing?
Not from a Texas perspective.
Correct. You don't think the feds are...
But from a federal... Yes, I guarantee you that the current illegal government that is spying on U.S. citizens is hoovering up all the data on who's down there, what they're doing, and they are contemplating how they could go after those people.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, if you're listening to this, Monkey Works YouTube channel does a video every day and shows those aircraft. We have balloons up over all the major cities right now that pull every bit of data and cell phone traffic and catalog all that shit. And then they've got aircraft that fly around also. The military's had this capability for decades and decades, but it's being used against U.S. citizens under Patriot 1, Patriot 2, and now they've just passed some third thing that gives them carte blanche to pull your data without any kind of warrant at all. If you're in the area and your phone is there, they can go through all your shit, and they in fact do. When you're a person of interest, you don't have to commit a crime and them identify the crime. When you're a person of interest, they will assign a team of analysts to your data to sift through your data and find your crime. So like being in the area, Patriot, awesome, more power to you. I think you're opening yourself up to a lot of future issues. Like the January 6th people right now, like we've seen from all the footage that some of the Congress people have put out that was kept out of the initial hearings, that these people in fact didn't commit any kind of crimes, and they were ushered through by Capitol Police and such. But you still have people in custody right now there is no crime.
Yeah, I saw a really good meme that's Capitol Police officers, a bunch of them standing there, and it's like, if these guys offer you a free tour. If they offer you a free tour, don't go on it.
Yep.
But the technology's been around for a long time. If you mentioned balloons, and 6 years ago, there was actually an article about a new balloon system that they have, just like the Goodyear balloon, but they're using LED technology on the balloon. So when you look up in the sky, it mirrors the sky.
Yeah, you don't see it.
So you can't see it. Now, they actually tested this balloon. You can look up this data. They tested this balloon, I believe, in Chicago and St. Louis. And just how it had the capability of track and identify things. And the thing that they showed was a dude commits a homicide. So he's out on the streets, and I believe it was Chicago. It might have been St. Louis. But he shoots somebody.
And they would not let him use this information in court.
He shoots somebody, gets in his car, drives throughout town, gets out of his car, starts walking around town, and they use the balloon to track this guy everywhere he goes. And it was classified information, but then they published the report and showed the video. But yes, it could not be used in court.
And if you're not up to speed on this kind of
we were using
technology.
Were using it in Iraq for a long time.
There's a system called Stingray, and it's been around for pushing 30 years, right? In the very kick-off of Iraq, Mookie was talking about Stingray 15, 20 years ago, okay? Look up Epoch Times. It's a YouTube channel, EPOC, Epoch Times. And on his channel, type in Stingray. And you will see him talk. It's a 30-minute video, and he's talking about how it was government, CIA, FBI kind of shit, but every police department has access to this now. Like local level, small town police departments can use this Stingray equipment, and it can take over your phone. They can send message. They can lock your phone down so you can't get in it. They can harvest all the data out of your phone, and they can control your phone and text people and message people as though it's you, and you can't turn your phone off. They can also overclock your phone so that it kills the battery. Your phone will heat up, and a lot of times that's what this is. Now, this has been brought up in court thousands of times, as recently as like 6 months ago, when they bring evidence against somebody and the defense lawyer catches wind of this. Anytime defense uses this and brings up Operation Stingray in court, the case has been dismissed. They just drop all the charges, and they will not discuss it or devolve in court under oath any information about this. And it's very interesting. And I'm telling you, if you haven't heard this, just look up that Epoch Times video. And that's the things you know about. That's the technology that's been around. So just imagine what they have beyond
whatever
that
technology you have to. When you think about technology, it's the trickle down. It's a trickle down effect. The only reason why law enforcement have Stingray is because the powers that be have tenfold higher than Stingray,
and they still want to be able to sell that technology.
It's not even necessarily sell. It's, again, because I am sure that if you were to look up the budgetary things from 20 years ago.
For DARPA and stuff.
Yeah, Stingray probably cost the government $1 billion, right? It probably cost them $1 billion to develop this, put it out in the world. And I am sure that when police departments buy it, if they're even buying it, because
they're probably getting it through Dermo.
They're probably getting a Lend-Lease program from the government where they're just like, yeah, here's the card, just put it in your fucking thing and it'll work. They're probably not even buying it. Now, my guess is whoever the company is that operated Stingray, the way they're recouping their money is it's all in like, hey, we have this app that you can add to fucking Stingray that'll allow you to see the pictures your grandma's looking at or whatever. So that's probably how they're making their money. Because again, when you're Stingray now is the high point of technology, right? There's the government's using HK. They don't even care about this. And if you made Stingray, you really want the HK contract. You're not trying to get the Stingray contract because of, again, law enforcement department, Camden PD doesn't have the money to be buying $1 million technologies to snoop on their people, but maybe they've got $100,000, right? If we can, so anyways, yeah, it's old technology that whatever the government's doing now, like they probably know the shit they probably have now is probably all predictive text. So before you even get in your phone and you're like, let me send her a dick pic. They're like, we already know which side it's going to be on. Like they're already like, yeah, we knew you were going to send a dick pic, bro. So it's probably all predictive technology now. We're in future crime already.
Did you see the come and take it flag being flown in Texas?
No.
It was at National Guard headquarters, some law enforcement departments, and I wanted something associated with Abbott was the way they spun it. I don't know. I don't think it was on the Texas Capitol building, but it was on some buildings that they were making a big deal about it. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool when you recognize your history, right? The powers that be, the current powers that be, they're the fucking redcoats.
So this morning, there was a clip from something from Tim Pool or something from yesterday, and Texas just passed some laws making it illegal to shoot illegal immigrants in the commission of a crime. They were making a big deal about that, and they're apparently issuing ammunition out now.
Passed a law. It's illegal to shoot?
No, it is now lawful to shoot. It is lawful for National Guard troops to shoot illegal immigrants in the commission of a crime. I believe that's how it was stated, something to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't they already?
Not the National Guard.
So that removes posse comitatus? Well, those
aren't
US citizens.
It doesn't remove posse comitatus because they're not U.S. citizens. But the National Guard operates under very strict rules. Example would be, the L.A. riots. They didn't have any bullets.
Yeah, do you think these National Guard guys down there have bullets right now? Do you think they were issued? I'm not saying did they bring their own.
I don't know if we're at the hand out the bullets. I don't know if we're there yet. Because it's not
right now it's American on American. It's not American on fucking foreigners.
I don't know if we're at the issue the bullets out yet. I don't think I would assume. I'm trying to think if I've seen any images of it, but I would assume that the majority of those National Guard guys that you see don't even have weapons. Because that's not what this is.
Think weapons are with them?
No.
You don't think they deployed with weapons?
I don't think so. I mean, I could be completely wrong. And if you're in the Texas National Guard and you're carrying an M16, I'm sorry that you have to carry that around all day. But I don't think we've armed up yet. I don't think so.
You think this is all media bullshit?
No. I mean, it's a real. We have a real issue here. We have federal authorities that are saying one thing, and we have state authorities that are saying another thing. Now, no matter what anybody says, the federal authorities are in violation of the federal authorities are in violation of federal law. So they are not willing to enforce the law. And you don't get to decide what rules you follow and or what laws you follow and what laws you don't follow. Nobody else gets to do that. So either enforce the law, either federal government enforce the law, or get out of the way and let the state enforce the law. That's it. Those are your only choices. To try and force a state to be culpable in not following the law is bullshit.
All the focus is on this park in Texas right now in Texas. And they're pushing their hand, right? And I really feel like it's watch this, while they're just bringing fucking millions through Arizona and California and all these other ports of entry, because you're not hearing shit about them.
Well, again, there are illegal immigrants coming through other ports of entry, okay? But the biggest border shared is Texas. So the majority are coming through Texas. You know, the issue, like if you take San Diego, for example, that's not a big border.
Did you see in La Jolla at the Cove, 2 black rubber raiding craft?
It's not the first time that's happened. They've done boat landings there before.
Apparently, they've just recently, or they're trying to, or they did pass something that illegal aliens now can just work. You can now employ them,
which is again in violation of federal law. Now, I get it. If you want,
same thing with, you can sell them a firearm without any documentation.
No, you can't. You can't sell anyone a firearm without documentation.
Did you see all the videos of the people going, "Hey, I'm a gun shop. I'm an FFL. Yeah. We were told by our ATF reps to release these."
The ATF cannot tell you which laws are legal and which laws are not legal.
Do you believe that they did it?
Oh, I am sure that some crazy ass liberal ATF agent went in there and been like, sell all the guns you want to illegal immigrants. You're still in violation of the law. Fuck that. You know, the reality is the local sheriff should have arrested that ATF agent for attempting.
It sounded like it happened in a lot of states.
I'm sure. I am sure that there are special agents out there that are trying to entrap gun dealers, because when their license gets revoked because they sold weapons to illegal immigrants, at what day in court is anybody going to be like, oh, well, you know, the ATF said it was okay?
So why do you think the White House is letting all these people through the border? What's their benefit?
Destabilization of the social programs in the United States to create chaos and unrest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Destabilization of social programs.
Why?
Because the lowest common denominator is the first one to go to the streets. That's why.
So there's a war coming.
I don't know about a war. I don't know about a war.
Who's behind it?
Well, the Democratic Party's behind it.
Really, but who's pulling their strings? Because mainstream media will have you believe that it's China, right? They just came out and said Russia is hacking our power grids. China is hacking our power. You believe that?
Yes. There is a whole army. There's a whole army of Chinese teenagers and Russian teenagers that are sitting in basements all over their countries, attempting to invade our infrastructure and do everything they can to create problems.
Do you think crazy liberal groups within the United States would do that to rural communities that were blue?
Well, crazy liberal groups don't have the capability to do that. They don't have the capability that a nation state has. Now, it's not, when you think about them breaking into Camden Power and shutting the power off, right? It's not really in their best interest, in the sense of it doesn't last long enough, right? It doesn't last long enough. The Chinese and the Russians have been trying to infiltrate the American grid system for years, and they have got in and done certain things, right? They've done some shit. But the truth of the matter is the majority of this country is a great country, And the majority of these people, the majority of the American people are working towards a better goal. And again, it's hard for even, 10,000 Chinese bots to attack Tesla or attack the power grid, because we have just as many able bodies here that are doing everything they can to stop that.
But what about Jedburgh teams?
Jedburgh teams? I don't even know what that is.
So in World War I, we jumped in. France was jumping in. I think it was France. They would put 3-man teams in to do infrastructure and take down and infiltrate and take down power grids and just cause mayhem and chaos.
But the reality, and I know my French resistant fighters are going to be like, chocolat bleu. The reality is none of that does shit. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really do anything for the outcome. The reason why the war ended was not because 3-man teams were out there cutting telephone lines. The reason why the war ended is because we put 400,000 tanks on the beach at Normandy and drove all the way to the Rhine.
Have you heard that 38 infrastructure stations in the United States would take the complete United States and Canada offline? And it's theorized.
There's only one. The crazy thing is there's only one for California.
Yeah, well, it's on the border of Arizona.
Yeah,
and there's actually 2 that would take the entire western seaboard off, and it actually has happened several times. And I believe it was in 2006. Some guys came into one of these power stations. Bear spoke about it recently, and there's a series. It's a narrated series. I can't remember the lady's name. It's a female name of her YouTube channel, and there's like 16, season 1, episode 16, and there's like 5 seasons of this shit. And that's what this is. It's this. It seems to be based on fact. There's a lot of fact in here, and people have actually done this, right? So people come in, and these higher level power generating facilities actually do have security and armed guards there. It's not just a chain link fence around,
right.
Some open fucking towers and stuff. But somebody came in, and they were better armed, and they said, "Put your shit down." And they were there, and they fired on a bunch of these major big transformers, sustained gunfire for 60 seconds or whatever, disappeared. And this has happened in the United States multiple times over a period of a couple of decades. And the thought is that these were just tests. These were to see what would actually happen. Now, these transformers, we can't energize homes right now. Like, we don't have enough transformers to put on poles here. Like, the power company, local power company, has come onto my property, and they're like, "Hey, bro, you got those 3 pots up there. Are you going to turn 3-phase on? We need those for some other projects." The big ones, though, we don't have them. Like, they don't exist in the laydown yards. All that shit comes from fucking China or Taiwan.
But do you know why we don't have them?
Because we don't make them.
But do you know why we don't have them?
Tell me.
Because we don't need them.
Okay.
We don't need them. That's why we don't have them, and we get them from China because it's cheaper. You have to remember, we were putting a B-24 out of the factory every fucking hour. We don't need them. Again, if the situation arose where we needed 500,000 transformers because, I don't know, the Russians have a new fart system that kills all the transformers, we would be making them within a month. We would be making them and turning them out within a month. America, we have the capability a sustainment capability that no one else in the world can match. I mean,
I think we did. I don't know that
we still have it. We just don't have a need for it. I promise you.
Do you know what the numbers are if the power goes out for 3 days? Do you know what the death rate in the United States is just after 3 days?
I mean, I don't know how anybody would be able to calculate that.
So FEMA puts those numbers out.
Yeah.
The State Department puts those numbers out, and then you've got all these think tanks and stuff. They say after 90 days, upwards of
90 days.
90
you could
90
have
days is
yeah.
90% of the population.
Yeah, I don't believe that one bit.
What do you think it is?
After 90 days, if we're just talking power out.
But when power out's water's out. When power's out, gas is out.
For certain people.
But for the majority of people.
But
because nothing's a valve anymore. Everything's controlled by electrics now.
I get it, but you're talking about death. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If the power goes out,
but no water filtration.
But the reality is, if the power goes out Are we talking again? Could the power go out completely in the United States? Would everywhere in the United States be without power? Not possible, because first off, some places are being run, and everywhere is not being run exactly the same. So some people would have power. Now let's say 50% of the United States was without power. The other 50% of the United States would come to the aid of whoever was without power. We wouldn't be offline for long. I'm telling you, people, we tend to go worst case scenario, but at the very least, for the first week, everybody would be fine. Yeah, you'd be in your house with your candle, and people would be out in the yard talking to their neighbors and being like, how much food do you have? How much water do you have? Everybody'd be fine. It wouldn't be this, at least for the first week, it wouldn't be this chaos hellscape that everybody believes. It's not fucking Walking Dead.
I think it's for the first 2 days. I think you're good for the first 2 days.
It would take longer than that. We've had these situations before. And we've had these situations before where, just think about the Great Depression and 90% or 80% of the population being without work. The country didn't burn to the ground. People are much more resilient than we give them credit for. Yes, I know we're spoiled and pampered and comfortable now. We have phones and all this bullshit.
But that's why that's the biggest part of it, right? During the Great Depression, you didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, but
people had calluses on their hands, and people knew how to produce food, and they actually had food in their yards.
We don't allow lawlessness.
Who's we?
As a country. As a people, you got let's say the power's out and you got fucking hooligans from Nashville coming here to steal corn. It's only going to be that first group, and then after that, no one's going to show up because that first group is going to disappear, right? It's one of those things that we tend to believe, like if you look at Hollywood and the movies they make. We tend to believe that it only takes one thing for us to spiral into complete chaos. And that's not really how civilizations work. When Rome burned, it didn't just disappear. It took 100 years for Rome to not exist.
Right. The United States has been burning, though. It didn't just start.
We're not.
So when you say...
Let's be realistic. Everybody in this room right now is comfortable.
Very.
We have power. We have food, we have lights, we're all comfortable. We're not burning. Tomorrow when I get up, I'm not going to be like, is the power going to be on? Is it going to be on? How long will it be on? Is it going to be on for an hour? Is it going to be on for 2 hours? Where am I getting my water? When we make this statement, a lot of people make this statement about America is just falling apart and turning into some sort of hellscape. While there are things, we are going in a direction that is not a great direction, I don't think. It's not the fucking hellscape that we make it out to be. That's the news media, that's Hollywood. Most Americans are generally good, and we are all looking for a better place, not a worse place.
So when you say we don't allow that to happen, right? We always assist each other. There's only one natural disaster at a time, though. So when Florida gets wrecked from a hurricane, everybody mobilizes and goes to Florida. When California gets wrecked, you haven't had
a nationwide disaster.
Correct.
A nationwide disaster,
or just simple power out.
A nationwide disaster. All bets are off. You can't. That's like saying what is America going to look like after a nuclear war with Russia? All bets are off. Who knows? And if you're talking about a nationwide disaster, let's use something that people talk about all the time: Yosemite blowing up. Mm-hmm. Nationwide disaster. What does that look like? It's going to look like shit for a lot of people, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, in their best interest, help those people that are fucking suffering, even at that level.
Why is it in their best interest?
Because community is more important than anything else.
To some.
To everyone. It is the reason why we have the high suicide rate that we have now. It's the reason why we have young men all over this nation who feel alone and left out. because they are not part of a community, because we created a society where we thought that this was going to solve all our problems. But the problem with this phone is it shows you a world that is not obtainable by you.
Do you really believe that they thought that was going to solve problems? No. I'm more of the belief that they did it to enslave people. I think they knew what they were doing.
Well, in order to get what you want, you need people to not be part of community, right? You need them to be at an individual level. The fucking federal government. That's how government gets bigger and bigger.
No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's how government gets bigger and bigger because it needs its support programs.
It has to continue to grow to live.
Yeah, to continue to grow to live. But I think at the base level, when you're talking about a serious disaster, a serious something that happens in the United States, community will only get stronger. People that weren't, people that were lone wolves of the battlefield are going to become part of a community because that's the only way you're going to survive. So, yes, are there going to be fucking roving gangs of people ravaging across the country trying to steal and take whatever they can? There is certainly going to be that. But there's also going to be people who understand that community is the only way to survive, and they will eventually stop those roving gangs from even being part of the equation, even if that means a lot of people get killed in order to stabilize things. That's what will happen. Anyways, I have high hopes for the United States, that people are generally good, and those are the things we should believe in anyways. I mean, what would we do? Right? If let's say again, Yosemite blows up and half the country is turned to ash, I would do what I could to help people to the point of, not being comfortable, because that's what we need to be doing.
Would you, or would you stay local and try to help the people in your community?
Well, it depends on how my community was affected, right? But still, no matter what, in that scenario, because of how many places would be affected, you're going to have a transit population.
But when lawlessness ensues.
Why is lawlessness going to ensue? You're going to have a transit population. You're going to have people that are going to be moving from the affected areas that are going to need places. Would I set up a tent? And would I set up tents in my backyard and do what I could for those people who are displaced? Of course. Would I allow lawlessness? Meaning, would I allow people to come onto my property and act a fool? No, of course not.
Have you picked up your illegal alien yet?
I have not, because they're here illegally.
Okay.
They're here illegally. Again,
so you're not going to house one of them?
I am not going to house illegal immigrants because they are here illegally.
Nashville and grab one up because it's your duty to.
It's not my duty. My duty is to uphold the law.
Have you seen that shit in New York going on?
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of them there too.
Maybe. So the dude who said, "Hey, we're sanctuary city, everybody welcome," Eric, whatever his name is, black mayor, right, in New York. He came out and said, "Hey, this is fucking destroying New York," and the feds started investigating him, and they started throwing a bunch of fucking. They tried to,
of course,
do a bunch of bullshit to that dude.
Of course, they're going to do exactly the same thing that the Nazis did in World War II to get what they want. I'm sorry, but if that's what you're doing, that's who you are. But it's not him. Now it's the locals that are. It's the regular people.
The people are taking them on themselves.
Up in arms about the fact that they're everywhere. Because again, it's easy to say that all immigrants are welcome when you live on Martha Stewart's vineyard and you don't have any immigrants in your backyard. It's easy to do that.
They can't even get to your backyard.
Where Texas is on the front lines, and so the only states that should have a say in what is happening on the southern border are those states that have a southern border.
So when do you think the handlers are going to show up with the Ryder trucks and start arming them?
What, the illegal immigrants?
Yep.
Why would you... I mean, again...
Same reason the pallets of bricks showed up at the Antifa riots and the BLM riots.
Yeah, that's different.
How's it? Is it? I mean,
that's different.
You don't think it's the same people?
Those were controlled opposition. That was controlled opposition.
You don't think it's the same hook and handlers?
It is the same
goal in mind?
It is the same. No, I don't think it's the same. And the reason why I say it's not the same is because Antifa was controlled opposition, meaning when I put bricks on the street for Antifa, I knew exactly what they were going to do with those bricks. If you give 300,000 immigrants, illegal immigrants, guns, you have no fucking clue what they're going to do. You really have no clue what they're going to do.
So you've heard
a good majority of them are just going to sell those guns.
Have you heard?
Come to Tennessee, I'll buy them.
Have you heard guys are coming across the border armed?
No, I haven't heard that.
I heard that this morning.
But again, if I had to make a trip from somewhere in Uganda through all of Central America to get to the land of plenty, to the United States, because this government is offering me money and a place to live, I would be armed.
You don't think the cartels would arm those guys?
No. Why would the fucking cartels give them guns? The cartels want all the guns they can get their hands on. They don't, there's not, the reality is the cartels have some sweet ass guns that Americans would buy, but they're not selling guns. Guns aren't coming north. Guns are going south. So for the cartel to be like, hey, Juan Valdez, here's a sweet ass fucking 5.7 pistol. Why don't you go up into America and cause some havoc?
Because the cartel guys live in the United States, right? Because they won't get assassinated in the United States.
Right.
They literally reside in the U.S. Wild guess, if you had to throw a number out, just some fucking crazy number. How many cartel guys are here in the United States? All across the United States. Because they're in Chicago, they're in fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
a million?
No, there's no way there's a million cartel
100,000.
guys. Nah, I bet it's not even.
Do you think there's a couple guns for every one of them that's here?
I bet it's not even 500.
You think there's a couple? You think there's only 500 cartel guys here?
Meaning real cartel guys? Yeah, because cartels aren't big.
No, I bet they are. I'll bet there's 500 high level guys here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The minions aren't.
And then all your street fighters, the minions, and the crazy dudes.
The minions aren't here. They use Americans for that.
You don't think they're bringing guns in for every one of those dudes? If they can bring all the people,
why would they bring guns in?
So where are they coming from?
But what I'm saying is, why would they bring guns in? If you're a cartel member and you live in the United States, you get all the goddamn guns you want.
From where?
From wherever. Haven't you seen the 60 Minutes video where they would talk about where you can buy guns?
Mm-mm.
There's actually a 60 Minutes video where they do this whole thing about gun violence in the United States. And they go to Chicago. And they're talking to these kids, these 10-year-old kids. I think they were probably 15, not 10. And they're asking them about gun violence.
Probably not soccer moms.
No, not soccer moms. They're in
the hood.
They're in the hood. And they're asking about gun violence. And they're telling them their stories, and they're telling them stories about the gun violence that's going on in the hood. And then they're like, how easy is it to get a gun? And they're like, we can get a gun right now. They're like, where can you get a gun? At the park. And they're like, you can get a gun at the park right now? And it's like, I think it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. They're like, yeah, we can get a gun right now at the park. And they're like, get us a gun. And they literally go, and they're gone for 5 minutes, and then they come back, and they've got a Glock. If you are a criminal enterprise, getting a firearm is probably the easiest thing you can do as a criminal.
So they're just stolen guns.
Oh yeah, stolen guns. So, yeah, but even that.
Do you think crazy liberals that want to pass gun laws see those guns being stolen and literally believe that what they're doing will actually solve a problem?
Probably, yeah, because if the stolen gun ends up being used in a crime, it's creating gun violence, and that gun violence is used to get rid of guns.
Did you see that Biden just said that they're gonna negate and go around Congress and use all powers that can be? Obama said the same thing in a speech. All I need is a pen and a piece of paper, and I can just sign it into law. But they want to ban and remove any private sales of firearms. Mm-hmm. This is happening right now as we speak. There's some big hubbub about this.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they're trying to make it so you have to dross everything, but it doesn't matter. A cartel guy is not buying a gun. A cartel guy is not meeting me at fucking the swap meet and buying a gun for me. He doesn't have to. The the criminal enterprise when it comes to firearms is deep, and there are just tons of guns. So, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. There's more guns than people in this country, and from an analytical perspective, it's not even 1%. It's not even 1%. People are safer here than anywhere else in the world, even though there are 3 times as many guns. Because again, if you had 700 people killed last year by, I don't know what the number is, 23,000, right? 23,000, somewhere in there, people killed firearms, to include suicides.
So remove suicides.
But don't remove anything.
Okay.
Don't remove anything. You have 330 million plus people in the United States. You have probably 700 million guns in the United States. And 23,000 people were killed? That's not even 1%. Right. That's a percentage of a percentage of a percentage.
Right. So
Ford would not recall cars if that many cars flew off a cliff.
So remove suicide, and what's that number?
No, it's not. It's even like
60%.
Yeah, if you remove suicide, it goes down. And if you remove Democrat-run cities.
Okay, so those are gun-free zones.
Yeah, but if you remove Democrat-run cities, then we don't even have a gun problem.
If you remove suicide and you remove black-on-black crime, and then number 3 is white-on-white. It's not whites killing blacks. It's not blacks killing whites. It's black-on-black. And so I heard a crazy fucking number, and I'm not solid on this, but it goes something to the effect of the United States is the second highest country for gun violence, okay? If you remove 2 cities, the violence from 2 cities, it's actually 3. One is, where's Andy Frisella at? It's Chicago, it's Los Angeles County, it's Chicago and St. Louis, Missouri. If you remove those 3 states, the United States becomes 173 countries in gun violence. It's those 3 fucking states. And all of that crime is happening in gun-free, gun-fucking-controlled zones run by Democrats.
Yes, 100%.
And all of that violence is gang violence. And gang violence is code for black-on-black violence. That's the largest portion of those numbers.
Again, I fall back on the numbers. Let's not take any cities out. Let's not take suicide out. Let's just use the overall numbers. And in the overall numbers, it's still not even a percentage point.
Right.
This is the safest place in the world. If guns were as bad as people make them out to be,
yeah, guns aren't the problem. People are. How many guns do you think are in the United States? Wild guess.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's probably 3 times as many guns in the United States as people.
Give me a number.
So we're talking 700 million.
Okay, 700 million rifles and pistols sat someplace yesterday, all by themselves, and not a one of them fucking fired themselves.
But even if you take the number from yesterday on how many guns were shot in anger, right, and people were either wounded or killed, it's still not a percentage point because of how many guns there are.
In the gun violence number statistics are self-defense numbers. They don't fucking break those up anymore.
And the other thing that people don't take in consideration, that nobody takes into consideration when they're talking about guns in the United States, is not guns that are sitting in closets.
That's what I meant.
Right?
Yesterday.
Not guns sitting in a closet. Take this statistic. How much ammunition is fired in the United States every year by law-abiding citizens? We're talking a fucking billion rounds. 1 billion rounds of ammunition gets shot into the dirt every year. That tells you that guns are not the problem. It's not the problem. If that ammunition was being used in a self-destructive manner, the population of the United States would look a lot fucking different. So the guns, the ammunition, even the people are not the problem. It's a very specific group of people. And unfortunately, for Americans on a whole, those specific group of people are Democratic voters, and they don't want to go after them for what they are doing. So, because it actually hurt the Democratic Party. The crime bill was done under the Democratic watch.
Right.
And unfortunately...
Yeah, who passed that crime bill?
Clinton. And unfortunately...
And who was one of the authors on there? Like, Biden had a huge part in the crime bill. Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Biden said some pretty racial shit, guys, about the black community. But unfortunately, because we know statistically where those crimes are being done, it affected a large population of a single group of individuals. And now, 20 years later, their kids are pissed off that their parents were put in jail for the reality of crimes that they were committing. So it hurt the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party, there's two things there's kind of a thing you don't do. You don't declare war on your constituents as far as crime's concerned, and you don't defund the military. So that's the problem we have right now in the United States. Everybody is a fucking war pig. Everybody in Congress is war pigs, and they also don't want to enforce the law. It's already in the books, right? The crime, none of that stuff has been taken off the books, but you have federal prosecutors who are not willing to prosecute certain cases due to the identity of those individuals, and they're putting those individuals back on the streets, and those individuals are reoffending because they're not enforcing the law. Enforce the law equally across the board, and everybody's going to be happier.
Did you see the stuff with Trump yesterday?
No, I didn't see any of it.
That he doesn't have any immunity while being president. He can still be tried for things that happened while he was president.
That's a judge panel.
Yeah.
And it won't mean anything. It won't mean anything in the big picture. This is liberal Democrats attempting to steer everybody away from the reality of what's going on.
That they're raping children.
That'll get thrown out of court. The Supreme Court will kill that.
Yeah, they can't have that happen. That would open fucking Obama up to bombing that teenager.
It opens up every single president for every crime that it's not going to happen. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just like every other one of these witch hunts that the Democratic Party has been doing. It's going to be a big, ooh, look at us. We're going after Trump because his socks don't match. In the end, it's going to be fucking bumpkiss. At the very least, they're going to be like, you got to pay the federal government $1 million.
So what do you think happens the first week that he's back president?
He never makes it to the White House.
We'll see.
He never makes it to the White House.
Because they're going to kill him?
Yeah, they're going to kill his ass.
Who?
The permanent government. The permanent government cannot have Donald Trump as president.
What do you think happens when if that happens?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nobody's going to do shit still.
Nobody's going to do shit because a elderly man is going to die of a heart attack or a stroke or a car accident. They're not going to fucking assassinate him. The days of shooting people, the days of shooting people in the public are over. Did you see the thing that China just came out with?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's weird. I mean, it's really weird that the liberal government is like, coronavirus was not made in a lab. And then the Chinese just came out and said they've modified the coronavirus.
Yeah, I did see that.
Where it attacks the brain and kills people immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wonder who funded that project.
Did you see they're still finding labs in the United States? You heard about a couple years or so ago in California too, right? They found several of them. They're still finding them. It's not even getting reported.
That is more important than illegals coming across the border. That is more important because, again, it's not dare say impossible, but when we talk about, shutting the power, everybody's like, it's always a fucking EMP and the power gets shut out and that's the end of the world. That's not it. It's a fucking bug. It's going to be a goddamn bug because a bug I can spread through the entire country without you being even aware that it's happening. And then before you know it, you're looking at a planetary killing thing.
You think some of these guys coming through this border have been inoculated with something? So now we bust them out into multiple places in the population, and then it activates later, or they're even
the hard part.
To it?
The hard part of those things. The hard part of those things is, while we're really good at creating things in the lab, so we're really good at creating a fucking a smallpox that'll kill everybody, or a fucking a coronavirus that will kill. We're really good at creating things in the lab. We are not good. We are not good at all at controlling the spread of said thing, right? We've done here in the United States, they've done a lot of studies where they fucking, they spread flu virus through the subway, through the subways in New York in order to see how shit spreads. We're not good at that. And I think that's probably the reason why you haven't seen chemical weapons used a lot in warfare, because chemical and biological weapons are very hard to control. It sounds like a good idea, but it may be killing the very people that you're trying to protect, right? So I don't believe that anybody I don't believe that anybody would be coming across the border that would be infected with some sort of virus that would spread across the United States intentionally, because it would be just as easy for you, the fucking provocateur, let's say, to just walk through the mall with a puffer and just being like,
well, it's a lot of the books are that. In fact,
you don't need this dude who fucking Sherpas through Mexico you don't need that. You could literally, again, have a lab in California that is cooking this stuff up, and then just have your real agents that are on the ground that came here legally, that probably have visas and all that shit, just walk around and fucking start infecting people. And then again, within 24 hours, it's everywhere in the world, especially if you do it in a place like, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City, in 24 hours. That is the other problem with
international airport stuff.
That is the other problem with any type of a biological weapon or germ warfare, is it's everywhere in 24 hours. So if you're China, if you're China and you decide you're going to attack the United States with some sort of fucking coronavirus that kills instantly, right? You literally have to shut your country down at least 24 or 48 hours prior to that happening. You have to shut the fucking border down. The problem is, especially in a place like China, they don't want to believe it, but the Chinese border is porous. So there's people coming from Russia. There's people that are going to walk across the border. So even like when we talked about shutting the United States, we're going to shut down all air traffic and stop coronavirus. You can't. It's not going to work. It may delay it.
Slowly prolong it.
It may slowly prolong it, but it's going to get here, right? It's going to get here. So that's the problem with those type of weapons. The only way it becomes useful is at the same time if you develop a vaccine, right? So I develop a corona vaccine that will keep all my citizens from getting the virus, then I can release the virus. The hard part is if tomorrow the Chinese started spooling up a vaccination to vaccinate millions of people in China, we would know about it. And then we would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
There's some country in Africa I saw this morning that's gone completely radio silent. Just complete nothing.
I mean, it's Africa.
Yeah, maybe zombies.
Africa.
Zombies.
Maybe.
If you're going to write a prepper fishing book, like if you're going to write like a doomsday book, what would it be? Would it be zombies? Would it be biological? What would it be? Power out? What would your?
I like what's the one on the show right now where it's the fungus?
The mushroom one?
Yeah, what is that?
Cytopeds or whatever?
Yeah.
What are those called?
What's the name of the show? The Last of Us.
It's not on anymore, is it?
No, it's not on anymore. But I like the idea. I like the idea of The Last of Us, meaning as a species we tend to look at the things that we know, And I think the thing that is going to wipe us out will be a thing that we aren't even paying attention to, right? And so, again, I don't know if you know the premise is the fungus can't live in your body because you're too hot. But the fungus adapts, and that's how we become fungus
mushroom zombies.
Mushroom zombies.
So they only did one season of that?
I don't know how many they did.
It didn't end, though. There's supposed to be another season, right? There's going to be?
I mean, it was a little drawn out, and it was a little. I think the actual best part of The Last of Us was the intro. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I watched.
Where they bring the Indian woman in. So the intro to
for the next season.
No, the intro to The Last of Us it starts in Bangladesh, maybe. I think it's Bangladesh.
Yes, I did see it. Yep.
Where they bring her in, and she looks at the thing, and then she sits down, and the general's like,
"Yeah,
what do we do?" She's like, "Bomb the fuck out of everything. Can I go home? Because we're all going to die."
Yeah.
I like that because that's kind of a realistic. I feel like a realistic expectation, meaning that again, we're going to come up with a.
But there's still hope in that show, right? Because you have to come in contact, be cut, or have some kind of mucus exchange with those things. So if you sequestered yourself, and
if you were able to sequester yourself,
if you put a castle wall around your, aside for some dumb kid fucking going out and coming back infected,
it's not just that.
Yeah,
and the key to how that spread was in the food.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was in the food. It was in the food, and it was the flour that went around the world. That's like, I don't know if, again, when his daughter is hanging out at the neighbor's house, and the neighbors are fine, they're making cookies, and it's the cookies that turn his neighbors. And so, again, it depends on it. You know what I'm saying? And so,
do you know there was a whole village at some point in Italy, I think, and they had this bread and they had this infected flour, and they cooked all this bread, and the whole fucking, like, a bunch of people died and, like, fucking had all kinds of weird shit go on in like a 16-hour period, and it was flour from the bread.
Yeah, there used to be a thing too where they would it was a mold.
I think that's what this was.
Back in the day, they used to intentionally let this bread mold. And then they would eat it, and it would be like a fucking rock star. Rock star party they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what'd you do this week to prep? Anything? What would you do that could be considered prepping?
I went to the gym.
Every day?
Every day. No, I didn't go today.
Okay.
I didn't go today. But the gym, let's see. Road march, because I got to get ready for the
ruckus.
The ruckus. And
Arkansas in March.
And some gunplay. I shot the sniper rifle. Got the sniper rifle out and played with that.
What's the sniper rifle?
The AI.
The
AI. Yeah.
Arctic Warfare.
No. I should bust. I'm going to bust it out, John. I'm going to bust out that Arctic Warfare and do a whole. I'm going to do like a month-long series where I'm shooting that gun every day, and maybe even invite people out so they can shoot it too. He probably wouldn't mind at all.
Does Hayes have one?
I don't think so. I mean, Hayes got some. He's got some collectibles, but I don't think he has an AW. I don't think he has an Arctic Warfare, because Arctic Warfare is the Queen Bee.
And John has that particular one.
Yeah, John has that. Well, technically, there are two here. We have the Arctic Warfare. We have the Arctic Warfare 308, and we have an Arctic Warfare 300 Win Mag. So we have two Queen Bees. The 300 Win Mag is Leo's.
What moves faster, 50 cal or 300 Win Mag?
300 Win Mag.
So would it just rip a man's ear off if it went past his head and you missed?
If it was close enough. It would rip the ear right completely off.
What about a 338? Would it rip?
338 would pull an eyeball out.
Just suck it right out. How close you got to be?
A couple inches.
Just
pull the eyeball right out.
The 338 round is traveling so fast it'll just suck the eyeball out.
Suck the eyeball right out of the socket. You'll be looking at your kneecap. Because the tendons will still be there, and you'll be looking at your kneecap.
So the optic nerve will still be attached.
Optic nerve will attach. But you could just push it back in.
Would you pop it back in, or would you put it in your mouth first to lubricate it?
Depends on how much danger I'm in, because somebody just shot a 338 Lapua at me. I would probably just hold it up.
Yeah, but they missed.
I'd probably just hold it up and look around with it first.
I wonder if that works.
It would have to if the optic nerve's still attached.
How's your YouTube channel going?
It's going.
Are you monetized yet?
No, not yet.
What's the name of your
Close.
YouTube channel?
Dog Kennel Little Spoon.
Decals.
Dog
Like Kennel Little Spoon.
Dog
He's on
Kennel Little
Patreon also. You guys can join his Patreon and ask questions, and he makes videos about your questions. So if you have questions you want, you can join his. Oh, you don't have membership on YouTube. Jump on his YouTube, Dog Kennel Little Spoon.
What's membership?
Well, you have Patreon instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dog Kennel Little Spoon.
Dog Kennel Little Spoon. Watch those videos if you would. Send them to your friends. Put them on loop because he has to have a certain amount of hours to be monetized on there. So help him out with that. You got any sponsors over there?
No sponsors yet.
If you want to sponsor him, did you get that email I sent you?
Yes, I did.
You should reach out to those guys.
I will. Yep. I'll see what I can do with that. I need a
Sherpa.
Yeah, I kind of need a Sherpa.
Caddy.
I definitely need a caddy.
Well,
hey,
what would a caddy be?
If you're looking
hold on. Let me stop you.
What?
Before you put this out there.
No, I'm going to put it out there.
They're going to show up.
No. Again, I don't mind.
They will fucking get on a Greyhound bus.
I don't mind.
They will hitchhike.
Look, I don't mind if you show up for the specific set of circumstances. If the power goes out across the United States, the volcano blows up in Yosemite, or rule of law no longer exists, and you want food, shelter, and a good time, it's going to be a good time.
Do they get dental with that?
I don't know. It depends on who shows up, maybe, because, I want to build a community.
We have a dentist in the building.
Yeah, I want to build a community. So if you want to come and be a gun caddy, because I need a gun caddy, that's all. That's it. Just come and show up, and I will. We'll put a tent up, and you can have 3 meals a day. They're probably going to be, unfortunately, dehydrated meals, but I guess that's going to be better than anything else.
Is this for men only?
Is this for men only? No. Why would I be a sexist like that? I don't care. Black, brown, green, orange, male, female.
So woman shows up for the role.
Woman shows up to the role.
What's the appropriate attire?
Don't worry about it. I will suit you up.
Laura Croft.
Laura Croft? She shows up?
No, but that's how you should dress her.
If Laura Croft shows up, I'll gun caddy for her.
Yeah.
I'll gun caddy for Laura Croft.
She can curve bullets.
Yeah. I would definitely. No, I mean.
Did you ever have the code where it made her topless?
No, I never had the code that made her topless. I can't even imagine when that code was available that making her topless would look appealing.
I don't think she had nipples.
Yeah, I don't think it would be even appealing because what was that, dot matrix? Boop, 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 boop. It would have been terrible.
It's like tits on a tranny.
It'd have been like sitting in SOE back in the 90s, watching the computer as the picture downloaded. Boop, boop, boop.
That's true. Yeah, boop. They had what was it? It was some gun forum. I can't remember. Assaultweb.com. And they had Babe of the Day, and you just click on these random posts, and 5 minutes later you'd see a naked picture. That's where the porn was back then. There was no. I don't think there was even a search engine back then. You had to know the address you were going to.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't care. Gun caddy. There'll be. I mean, if more than one show up, trust me, I've got enough. I mean, it would be cool to have like 10 people with golf bags behind me as we're moving across the countryside looking for zombies.
Golf carts.
Yeah, probably golf carts or
Razors.
Super 70s. Everybody's going to have a Super 73.
You still riding that thing?
Of course. Every time I get on it, though, lately I've crashed.
Of course you do, because it's got so much power it can't get traction.
It's because Brandel put them weak ass street tires on there, and so when you hit the grass at 25 miles an hour and try and make a turn, the bike.
Do you have a soldering iron?
Do I have a soldering iron? No, I don't have a soldering iron.
They make a blade goes on a soldering iron. They also make them for grooving tires, but you can cut some of that and make knobbies on them.
Yeah, I'll probably just get a crazy rear knobby tire.
What you bought some tires for your CT 125? What'd that end up costing you to put those on? That was ridiculous. $200 just to install the tires. That's fucking crazy.
That's more than the bike is worth. That's
not nowadays. Not what he's done to it.
Are you? Wait a minute.
Only cost $100 and the tubes for both.
Wait a minute. Are you ready for a 200? Are you ready for Are you ready to step it up, Brandel?
Mine's about to be a 181.
Are you ready to step it up?
Kit.
Are you ready to step it up? Because I'm ready to buy that 125 from you.
It's gonna be a 181 probably.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, when you're ready, when you hit that 181, and then you're like, I need more power, just give me a call.
Why don't you just buy a motorcycle?
You know what? I don't. Here's the thing. This is what I'm gonna say. You're actually fucking up.
You know they have a sidecar for it.
You're actually fucking up. You really should be. You should reach out to Super 73, and you should reach out to Honda, and be like, hey, I'm gonna do the what is it? The Grouch. What the fuck did everybody do to their Mustangs? Who was that?
Roush.
I'm the Roush of small bike engines, and you should be designing and making your own line of bikes, because again, even still,
or Shelby with the Cobra.
I can go on the Super 73 site and look at all the bikes they have and go, you guys don't even know what you're doing. Like you should have your own line of bikes. They should be selling the brand.
Well, there's a lot of skidding jeans and top knots in there.
I know there is, but there is a lot of dudes that carry guns that would like to secretly wisp through the woods on a quiet Super 73.
Most guys with guns are like they're pouring gasoline out as they're driving.
That's because they haven't had an opportunity to get on the Super 73.
You know what the real future is?
What?
You can buy a smart car for $2,000. You can get the nicest one for $8,000. There's a company for $2,500 that lifts them. It comes with shocks and everything.
Yeah, Kentucky Ballistic did it.
Really?
Yeah, he did it a year ago.
So that's what we do. The Rambler. We do the Gambler 500 in those smart cars.
I will most certainly. If you want to get a smart car and lift it and put fucking wheels and rims on that shit, I'll drive that motherfucker every day.
There's a whole gang of them.
That would be awesome. It's like the Vespas of the old day. I'd put a little foxtail on the back of it and drive around town.
Wear a bomber jacket.
Yeah, wear a bomber jacket. I'd do the whole thing. It'd be awesome. Yeah, I like that idea.
I think Cody could do the whole fucking kit in a weekend.
$3,000. Where can you find one for $3,000?
Right now on Marketplace. I've been sending them. I sent you the videos on them.
Like drivable $3,000?
Yeah. And does it even matter if the airbag's been set off? You're not.
No, I don't care,
because we're definitely going to set that motherfucker off.
I don't care about the air. You could take the airbag out because you're dead if you hit anything in that thing. You are dead. I wonder what, you know what? That would be interesting to look up, and I am sure that Smart Car has done everything to suppress it. But it'd be interesting.
How many people died?
What the survivability rate is in a smart car in an accident. Because it's just a
laugh, man.
It is just.
But they're pretty cool with you put these big knobby tires on them and shit. It comes with the wheels. You pick your wheels, you pick your tires, you pick your shocks, and you got to do a little bit of body trimming and shit.
I would definitely
$3,000 to $4,000 all day.
Really?
Yeah, I bet there's some here in town for sale.
I've only seen one around here.
There's a couple of them here.
There's somebody in Waverly who drives a white one around.
Yeah,
and every time I see it on 70, for some reason he drives past the Walmart, and every time I see it on 70, there's always a fucking semi truck right behind him, and I always think, man, he's just gonna turn his windshield wipers on to fucking sweep that thing away as he runs it down.
Think about like when you put a lift on your truck right now, right? If you're gonna lift it up or do some stuff, and you got to cut some shit for clearance, you're like, I don't know if I really want to cut this. Dude, you wouldn't give two shits with a fucking smart car.
I know.
You'd be out there with a fucking spray paint.
As a matter of fact, I think Kentucky Ballistics, so I know he lifted it, but I also think he cut the roof off of it.
Yeah.
So he's driving around like a Jeep. Pull the doors off that bitch. Be nice.
The doors are probably what holds it together. Keeps
it
from collapsing.
Some sort of structural thing. Yeah, it'd be fun driving around a smart car like that.
Small cabin. It's probably going to heat and cool really well.
The only problem is they don't get, for what it is, right? I think it's, what is it, Brandel? 30 miles to the gallon?
And it has a 1 gallon tank.
Something like that. For what it is, you would think it would get crazy gas mileage. Like you can get a damn Honda 4-door that gets
40.
That's almost as good as a damn
40 miles a gallon. How big is the tank?
2.
8.7.
Oh, 8.7. That's not bad.
With the 1.3 reserve.
Yeah, I mean, we could put extra tank in them. I mean, they have a tank. They put tanks under the passenger seat in the Razors and stuff. There's all kinds of shit we can do.
Nice.
All right, guys, Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 61.
61.
If you use Amazon, if you would use one of our affiliate links in descriptions, if you click any of those Amazon links, takes you to Amazon, gives us a little percentage of what you buy in the next 24 hours. EMP Shield, if you would like an EMP Shield and you use code SOE, it gives you $50 off of your order. Also in descriptions is Harvest Right Freeze Dryers, gives us a little percentage of your order if you use that. And be sure, what?
Harvest Right Freeze Dryers, you have a coupon code for them?
Yeah, an affiliate code, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have. Be sure to follow Dog Kennel Little Spoon, and we're going to jump over to Patreon on the SOE Patreon channel.
Do you have Patreon questions?
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
Do we?
I don't ever look at them until right then. Yeah, we do.
Good.
And make sure you follow Jeff on Patreon. He does a ton of gear giveaways. He just said some guy's name earlier, and I'm like, I know that guy.
Clinton Briggs.
He won a backpack. Jeff gives gear away and stuff. A medical backpack.
Yeah, medical backpack.
What's in it?
No, nothing in it.
What kind of medical backpack?
It's do you remember the I'm not sure. I thought they were Blackhawk, but when I looked at the tag, it's Industry for the Blind. But you remember those? They were all OD green, and then they had those inserts that went inside that held everything.
Those are the M9 bags.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
The
I don't know
SEALs
what
had those.
I don't know what we started getting them right before the war kicked off, and then
they were kind of like an elastic drawstring.
No. It's it really looks like a who's your mentor?
Eagle.
It really looks like an Eagle bag. Those inserts they're foam filled, so they're hard. They're squares that go in there in the thing, and the mesh inside of it looks Eagle-ish. Mm-hmm. Like it really looks like an Eagle bag, but I don't remember. It has the fucking heavy duty web belt that goes it's the same material as the belts.
Like the rigger belt?
The rigger belt that's tucked in the side so you can
jumpable.
Yeah,
so it's got the leg straps so that you can parachute with it.
Yeah, it's got all that shit.
Interesting.
So, it's an interesting bag.
Well, the government, they go to special operations guys and give these companies contracts, and then when big government wants it, they give them a contract.
Yeah.
And then while they're in the midst of building it, they give them another contract that they can't possibly fulfill. So that breaches contract, and that opens them to fucking just go and build it with the lowest bidders.
I mean, I should probably bring. I have a couple of them. I should probably bring it in and let you look at it because you probably would be able to identify where it came from. But I feel like,
does it not say Lighthouse for the Blind, Industry for the Blind, or something on there, or Lighthouse Industries?
I don't know if I saw that or not. I really feel like it was an Eagle bag at one point.
We hired 6 people this last week.
Nice.
Yeah, we got 6 new employees that are all really good. A dude walked in here and said, "Hey, I'm with so and so, some rehab place, right? Some church rehab place." And he's like, "We have labor. I heard you need labor. We'll place them." And I go, "Well, what's the pay rate?" And he goes, 40% over industry. I go, "I have to pay you 40% over what I would normally pay an employee?" I go, "Why?" I go, "You're getting all kinds of federal grant money. I'm going to take one of your people who can't do this skill. I'm going to teach them a skill."
Yeah, but okay, go ahead.
"And I have to give you 40% over what I would pay them." I go, "And you're not even passing the money to the employee. I'm paying you. Your employee, while they're in your program, gets no money for 24 months. He goes, "Yeah." I go, and I literally go, I go, "Why the fuck would I do that?" And he's like, "Well," I go, "Why would I do that?"
40% over industry standards, not 40% over what you pay.
No, it's what I'm paying.
More.
Yeah, 40% over.
Oh, because I was going to say you pay more than industry standards.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
I would think that you would be able to, because that's the scam. Like the scam is the employer pays the parolee less money.
Yep. The slave, because they're on the system.
Right, in order to.
And then they take all that money. Well, you told me that before, right? We were driving through someplace, and there was this badass fucking steel building, which was a church, and you're like, it's a rehab place. They get all this grant money. Mm-hmm. They build these fucking mega churches.
It's
that's the one we're talking about.
Yeah, I can't even think of the name of it. But yeah, it's mandatory sentencing.
Mm-hmm.
So your first offense, you gotta love Tennessee. Again, you just have to love Tennessee. Your first offense, they literally are like
drug court.
You want to go to jail, or you want to go to church?
Yep.
And so they're forcing these people to go to church, and the church. The church is probably making money from the state.
Well, that's what this was. Yeah, they're like, we'll bring them to work.
Yeah, the church is probably making money from the state, probably money from the feds, and those, at the very least, they're getting tied from the drug court people, if not them going to work and free labor at the church, right? Because the church loves free labor.
Yep. Pretty wild.
Yeah, it isn't. Maybe we should
start our own church.
A rehab.
You said that. You said that when we drove past that place.
Maybe we should do a rehab facility.
What are we rehabbing them from?
From their evil,
their wayward, wicked ways.
Evil, wicked ways.
All
we
right.
could get who's our explosive pastor down in Florida? What's his name?
Explosive pastor.
Yeah, pastor's in his name, and he was doing.
John Dunn. Because he's actually a demolitions guy.
We get John Dunn up here, and he could hold church every day while they are in there sewing.
Yeah,
it'd be good. They learn a valuable skill. They're getting paid and rehabilitating
and learn the Bible.
It's good for and learning the Bible. Good for the community at large.
All right, guys, that's Pulling the Thread podcast episode 61. We're going to jump over into Patreon questions.